Arise, Queens. This is the All Queens Army, where women are provided with the tools you need to overcome your fears, face your flaws, and experience breakthroughs as you develop self-esteem so strong you emanate royalty. Now, for your host and commander of the All Queens Army, Breezy Time.
Welcome to the All Queens Army podcast. This is your girl, your host, Breezy Time. I am here today with another dope episode for the Queens. Yes, honey, it's another wonderful Motivation Monday, and I couldn't be happier that we are together once again, Queens. You Queens know I enjoy my Mondays because it's the day that I get to be in your ear because you Queens are in my hearts, okay? We have such a great episode today, as always, right? I mean, like, when do we not have great episodes? But the topic today is really good. It's actually one of my favorite things to talk about, so I can't wait to dive into that. Before I do, though, really quick, just a couple really quick announcements about the website, allqueensarmy.com, where we have e-courses for free for you beautiful queens. Remember, the e-courses are continuations of some of the podcast episodes and some of the topics that we're talking about. If you need a little bit more meat and potatoes to dig into those topics and really figure out how to overcome, how to break through, how to start living the life that you want to live, like if you need help and you need like a step-by-step guide on how to overcome some of the shit that's holding you back and how to break through some of the shit that keeps on popping up in your life causing problems, well, try out one of the e-courses. They're free. There are 5 different ones. It just depends on what it is that you want to work on, okay? And you'll be able to read the description of each one to pick the ones that are best for you, okay? So go ahead and march on over to the website and take the e-courses, Queens. I made them specifically for you, okay? Okay, next, we have the motivational blog that I write once a week for you, Queens, and it drops every Thursday at 6 a.m. It's the perfect time for you to sip your tea and drink your coffee in the morning on Thursdays to get your daily boost of motivation. And then last but not least, if you have not subscribed to the All Queens Army podcast, you can do so at allqueensarmy.com. Click on the subscribe tab and you can choose from any of the platforms that we're on, which are Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, YouTube, and iTunes. Okay, Queens, I'm super duper ready to talk about today's topic, which is actually one of my favorite things to talk about. It's one of the things that I literally feel like I've been preaching for like 2 years now. And today's topic is about validation. Now, if you've been listening to all of the episodes this season, you will notice that we talk about validation here and there in the episodes because validation comes up a lot. And validation is basically approval seeking, acceptance seeking, attention seeking, basically trying to get things from outside of you to make you feel like you're the shit, okay? So today's episode is all about saying no to validation and stop caring about what people think. So that's what we're going to talk about today. I'm going to give you some tips, of course, as to how to help you with that if you struggle with this a little bit. As I always say, when we first start talking about the topic, some people will say, oh no, I don't have that issue. I don't seek validation. I don't give a shit what other people say. I could care less. And then as they start listening to the episode where I start giving you some signs and some indications that, hey, maybe you do deep down inside seek validation, or maybe you do deep down inside seek whatever it is we're talking about for the week, then it's like, I do that, right? Sometimes we start seeing or hearing things that kind of remind us of some of our behaviors. It makes us think twice about where we are emotionally and where we are mentally, and help us uncover some of the things that we do subconsciously that we're just not aware of. Because a lot of the things that we do, Queens, that are self-sabotaging, a lot of times we don't even realize that we're doing them. And that's the purpose of the podcast episodes, is to help us really do some self-discovery, digging deep down into who we are and some of the issues that we're facing that we're not readily able to see. Because a lot of the things that we experience, we're not easily able to see what other people are doing to us. We're not easily able to see the way we sabotage ourselves or the way that we diminish our self-worth by tolerating things we shouldn't tolerate. It's hard to see some of those things because society has normalized so many things and made people believe that it's okay. And it's not. It's not okay. Okay. Now, some of the things aren't bad. It's just that it will harm you and harm your self-esteem and harm your growth and harm your evolution and diminish your ability to be able to manifest what it is that you want. Okay. So let's go ahead and address the need for validation and approval and acceptance and attention seeking. All of those things are like a drug. They're literally like a drug that ultimately kills you. When you have a need for approval, when you value the beliefs and opinions and needs of others above your own, when other people's opinion of you is more important than your own view of yourself, honey, we have a little bit of a problem there, okay? Now, again, don't start getting defensive and saying, no, I don't care. No, I don't think about it like that. No, I don't do that. Everyone experiences this struggle in some areas of their lives, okay? Some people may not seek validation for their appearance because they're super confident in their appearance. Some people may not seek validation with their job or their work or their career because they're super solid in that area of their life. Some people may not seek validation from the opposite sex or from a romantic partner because they don't need the validation. They're super confident in that area of their lives, okay? So this can apply to different areas of your life. Just because you feel super confident and you don't seek validation in one area of your life, it doesn't necessarily mean that there may be some other insecurities lurking in some other areas of your life where you are seeking validation, okay? So stay with me as I go through some of the approval-seeking behaviors, because that's what I'm going to go through, just giving you some examples of some of the signs that you could be potentially seeking validation, okay? So here are some of the signs. Here are some of the things that we do, and I say we because, queens, you know I'm always talking about and preaching to myself, honey. I am not excluded. Just because it's my voice coming across these sound waves, it doesn't mean, queens, that I have perfected anything. Everyone is on a journey. Everyone is working towards a greater good to evolve themselves in their lives, and I am no exception, okay? So a lot of things that I talk about on the All Queens Army podcast, I'm speaking from experience because I've either been there, done it, and overcome it, or I'm still on my journey and I'm speaking to myself as well. So here's some of the approval-seeking behaviors that we may be doing that we should pay attention to because they may indicate that there's a little insecurity lurking beneath the surface in one of the areas of our lives, okay? I also want you, queens, to keep in mind that these behaviors are really just normal everyday things. However, every time I talk about signs, queens, I'm talking about things that you're doing super frequently. I'm talking about things that you're doing over and beyond. If you're doing something to the maximum capacity, like you're doing it every single day, like anything that you do too much becomes overkill, and that's when it actually becomes non-beneficial, when you do it too much. So keep in mind, queens, when I'm talking about signs and approval-seeking behaviors, these signs, when done too frequently, when done too much, when they become habits for you, that's when they indicate that there could be an issue, okay? So these are just everyday things. I don't want you, queens, to think that just because I mentioned something that it's not normal. Everything on here is normal. It's just a matter of understanding if you're doing it too much. Okay, if you're leaning on it too much, if you've become dependent on some of these behaviors to start trying to get what you want because you lack it. So I want you to keep that in mind too, okay? So with that being said, let me go through some of the approval-seeking behaviors, okay? The first one is doing something that you don't want to do because you're afraid to say no. If you're trying to yes someone or a situation to death just so that you can get the approval or just so that you can get what you want, it may be an indication that you're seeking validation. You don't have to compromise who you are. You don't have to compromise what you don't like. You don't have to compromise things that make you uncomfortable just to get the approval, just to get someone else to like you, just to get someone else to think you're a team player, just to get someone else to give you a pat on the back. You don't need to do that. You don't ever have to compromise what you want or what makes you feel comfortable. If you really want to say no because it's something that you don't want to do, then you should say no and stick to the authenticity of who you are, okay? Here's the second thing. Not expressing your dissatisfaction when receiving poor service. This is something that my mom does frequently. We can go to a store, we can go out to lunch, we can just be anywhere, and someone will throw my mom a little attitude or act like she's annoying. I have seen it firsthand, honey, and let me tell you something. First of all, I don't play about my mama, so when it comes to stuff like that, she may not even get a chance to react because I respond for her, okay? Because you ain't gonna be playing with my mama bear there now. I don't play those types of games. I know my queens can feel me on that one. But my mom is the type of person, she don't want to rock the boat. She don't want to argue. She doesn't want to make a scene. So she'll just kind of sweep it under the rug. Not a big deal. And again, queens, remember, that's normal. It's normal to pick and choose your battles. It's normal to pick and choose when you want to bring attention to something, because some things just aren't big enough of a problem that's even worth the trouble. So I get that. Remember, what I'm saying is when you do that too frequently, meaning when someone really does step on your boundary, when someone really does cross a moral boundary that you have and you still choose not to voice your dissatisfaction, it's a sign that you're caring way too much about the other person and their reaction and not upsetting the apple cart than you do yourself, okay, and what you need and the service that you deserve, okay? So that's another one. Here's one more. Changing or softening your position or your opinion because someone else disapproves. Now, this one I see all the time, okay? All the time. I'll hear people say that they want to do one thing, they want to go somewhere, they believe this thing, and then someone else that they look up to or someone else that they think is super smart or someone else that they want to be friends with will say something different. And honey, their opinion just goes out the window and now they have the opinion of the other person. I see it all the time. And I'm pretty sure you queens see it all the time too. Just make sure, queens, if you're changing your stance, if you're changing your opinion, if you're changing your position on something, that it's genuinely because you see it from a different perspective now, that it's genuinely because you've learned something different now and you honestly have changed your opinion. Don't do it to please someone else. Don't do it to get the pat on the back from someone else. Don't do it to befriend someone else. Don't do it to get a benefit from someone else. Make sure it's 100% genuine to how you feel, okay? Now, there's nothing wrong with changing your mind because someone maybe opened up your eyes to seeing things from a different perspective. That's normal. It's not normal if it's not genuine, if it's not real, okay? So just be careful of that. Okay, here's another approval-seeking behavior. Giving insincere compliments and gaining approval for attention. This is one that I see in the work environment on my job all the time. I see people who overly compliment other people all the time, and I can tell it's not genuine. I can tell it's not genuine because of the energy that the person is giving off who's giving the compliment. Their energy is reading that they feel one way, but their mouth is saying something different. Have you queens ever experienced that? Where someone's saying something, they may not even be saying it to you, but someone's saying something and it just feels like it's not genuine. Like you can feel a different energy from what they're saying. If that's something that you're doing, you are compromising who you are. You are actually creating a lack of integrity in yourself, and now you're becoming a complete liar. So there's no bigger issue than that, right? Nobody wants to be a liar. That's definitely going in the opposite direction of evolving and growing and becoming a better you, okay? So be careful of that one, queens. Okay, here's another one. Getting upset or worried or insulted when someone disagrees with you. I see this one all the time too. Sometimes I'm guilty of this, right? When my husband disagrees with me or he tries to tell me his opinion and it's not the same as mine, I have to catch myself sometimes, queens, because I'll be like, wait a minute, we're supposed to be on the same page. But I really do have to stop and respect his opinion and respect his perspective because he's not going to always agree with me. I'm not going to always agree with him. I'm not going to always agree with my friends. I'm not going to always agree with my mom. I'm not going to always agree with my family members. We're just not going to always agree. Sometimes you're just going to have a differing opinion from someone, and that's okay. Everybody has different experiences. Everybody has different journeys. You don't have to always be exactly on the same page as someone else. And if you feel like you do need to be on the same page, if you feel like someone always has to be on the same page as you or always has to agree with you, and you feel a little worried or upset or frustrated or angry or sad because they have a difference of opinion or because they have a different thought process, then that means that there's a really deep issue within yourself. Either you're totally a control freak or you're totally insecure. So I just want to throw that out there, and don't kill the messenger. Don't beat me up. I'm only here to identify some of the hidden things, queens, that we have deep inside of us that we just need to work on, okay? Not throwing any jabs. I'm telling you, I've done the same thing. I literally, to this day, I still do it to my husband today, okay? So here's another one, okay? Expressing agreement when you don't agree. I see this a lot at work, and I see it a lot in relationships as well. People just agreeing so that they don't have to argue, or sometimes people agree because they don't feel valued. They don't feel like their opinions are valued. They don't feel like what they have to say is valued. They don't feel like their perspective is valued. They don't even feel like you hear them or that you care. Or if it's you, you may not feel like people are listening to you or that they care. So a lot of times, to avoid feeling like you're rejected or feeling like your thoughts are rejected, rejected or what you want is rejected, or sometimes just avoiding an argument or avoiding confrontation, a lot of times what people do is just agree. It's the easiest thing to do. It's the easy way out. But queens, what you're doing with that is you're compromising and you're jeopardizing your self-worth. You're literally belittling yourself. You're dumbing yourself down. You're dimming your shine. You should never do that. Don't ever compromise who you are. Don't ever dumb down your thoughts and your opinions and your perspective, because it's needed. It's valued. If it's not valued or needed by the people that you're talking to or working with or surrounded by, you're around the wrong people. You're in the wrong space, and you need to check on that, because that is devaluing who you are, and you're too fucking dope and too fucking bomb to allow people to treat you that way, okay? Just a couple more, okay? Here's another approval-seeking behavior. Asking for permission when it's not required. Honey, oh my gosh. This is one I see in business, okay? When people come to me and they're talking to me about business, when people are coming to me and they're asking questions about starting a business, of course I get the question about 5 times a day, how to start a podcast. There's so many people who just don't realize that they don't need permission. Queens, you don't need permission. You are a grown ass woman. You can do whatever it is that you want to do. You can make your own decisions. You can jump out there and start whatever it is you want. You can start that business. You can start that podcast. You can start that fashion line. Do it. Jump out there and do it. You do not need permission. You do not need validation. You do not need someone else to tell you that you can do it, that you can handle it, that you are qualified. You already are. If you weren't qualified, if you weren't the right one, if you couldn't do it, you would never even have the thought, the idea, or the goal in your head to begin with, okay? God, the universe, whatever you want to call it, would never implant something into your head that you can't do, or that you're not the one to do it. Listen, if you think it, you can do it. If the idea pops up in your head, you're the one that's meant to carry that shit out. When you ask for permission, you are low-key seeking validation. You're trying to get someone else to validate that you can do it, because you don't think you can, or you don't think you should. And that is a lie. Scratch that, throw it away, ball it up, get rid of it immediately. If it's your idea, if it's your goal, if it's your thought, if it's your desire, then it's yours. Do it. Okay, here's another one. When you apologize unnecessarily. I see this one happen a lot at my job as well. One of my coworkers is always apologizing. If I call him and he doesn't answer and he calls me back 5 minutes later, he's like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, I was on a call. It's like, dude, you called me back 5 minutes later. You don't need to apologize, okay? There's no need to apologize. But that stems from people feeling like someone's going to be angry with them. It's almost like a trauma response. You think that someone's going to be mad. You think that you've let someone down. You think that someone's going to turn their nose up or look at you sideways or think less of you because of whatever it is that you just did. That person may not even be feeling that way. That person may not even care about what it is that you did. They're not looking at you funny. It's your thought. It's your belief. Okay, so don't apologize. Stop apologizing unnecessarily. Now, if you did something wrong, you hurt someone's feelings, someone that you care about said, hey, you did this, I don't like it, of course apologize. But don't offer apologies when there's no apology necessary. There's plenty of situations like that. Again, my coworker is an example of that. Okay, so here's the last example of approving seeking behaviors, okay? And then we're going to move on. Pretending to know something that you don't know because you don't want to admit that you don't know it. I see this happen a lot on social media platforms where people will try to make themselves an authority of something that they really don't know. Or people will try to make themselves an authority of something that they have no experience in. I see it all the time. I know you queens see it all the time. That is also a lack of integrity. That's just you being a plain bullshit liar. And I can't stand it. There are so many people that have been frauded, that have been lied to, that have been misled by people like that. So queen, please don't do that. If you're one of the queens who's running a business on Instagram or any other platform that you may be running a business on, when you're new, just be new. It's okay. Don't fake it until you make it. I so totally just do not agree with that. And again, I'm speaking from experience, okay? I'm not judging anyone because I have been a person who has tried to fake it before I made it. Actually, I didn't even try, honey. I successfully faked it until I made it in a couple different situations in my life. And what I'm telling you is you may make it, you may get out of it, you may get to a point where now you do have some experience and you did see a little bit of success, but I promise you, queens, that success is temporary. Because when you're not doing things with integrity, when you're not being genuine, when you're not being honest, you're only attracting people who have the ability to be tricked and manipulated. And people who have the ability to be tricked and manipulated, they don't stay around for long. long, because no one wants to stay in a situation where they're being tricked and manipulated for long periods of time, okay? So your interaction with them or them supporting you is going to be very short-lived. That's why the success behind doing things like that is short-lived. You're better off being genuine. If you're new at something and you're just starting out, it's actually better to say, can you support me because I'm learning, because I'm new? Can you please be patient with me while I go through this process? You will be surprised how many people would just love to support someone because they're actually trying. You would be surprised how many people would love to support someone just because they were being honest, just because they were being transparent. See, when you're being genuine to who you are, when you're being honest, when you're being transparent, you attract people who are on the same energy wave as you are. Because remember, like attracts like. You're only going to attract people who vibrate the same energy as you. So if you're vibrating genuine, honest energy, this is just who I am, you're going to attract people who are like you, and they will like you because you're being you. Okay? So that's how it works, Queen. So be careful with that. Don't pretend to be something that you're not. Don't pretend to be an authority figure on a topic that you lack experience in. Okay? If you don't have experience in it, then do not do it. It's the other reason why all of the topics that I talk about on any of the All Queens Army platforms, whether it's the blog, the podcast, the e-courses, any content that I create for All Queens Army, it is always 100% something that I have experienced, something that I have been through, something that I am going through. You will never hear me talking about shit that I've never done because I have no experience in it. I can't give a valid opinion about it. If I do it, I'm just talking out of my ass, and that's not helping anyone. If my goal is to help women and go through a journey together with women where we're evolving together and we're growing together and we're manifesting the lives that we want together, there's no sense in me bullshitting and lying to anyone because no one is growing. I would never hit my goal if I wasn't being genuine, if I wasn't being myself, if I couldn't be transparent, if I was acting like I was an authority of something that I have no fucking idea what I'm talking about. That's not helping anyone, you or me, okay? So with all of that being said, Queens, the reason that you want to work on your need for validation, if you do have that, if you could relate to any of those behaviors that we just talked about, let me explain to you, Queens, why it's important to work on this little issue, okay? It's not a big to-do. It's just one of those little nagging issues beneath the surface that's probably stuff that we're doing subconsciously. So let me explain to you, Queens, why it's really important to work on this one little nuisance issue, okay? When you don't get the approval, when you do get criticism, when you don't get the attention that you want, your entire decision-making processes are eventually taken over by your need for approval and acceptance of others. You can't take any decisive action without their approval. You literally sacrifice your dreams, your ambitions in order to have someone else's approval. So the consequences of that is lack of achievement. Like if you're constantly seeking approval from people, from family, from friends, from a job, from a coworker, from a boss, from anything, you'll wind up experiencing a lack of achievement. So why is that, you ask? Why do you experience a lack of achievement? Because you literally are dependent upon someone else telling you that you can do it or someone else piping you up in order for you to even take that step. If you don't have that pat on the back, that atta girl, that you can do it, that piping up from your friends or your family members, then you'll never step out because you're constantly seeking that from someone else, okay? You could also experience reduced performance, and that's actually a result of the lack of achievement because what's happening is you're slowing yourself down. You're slowing down your own momentum. You no longer have the ability to step out and just get shit done based on your own motivation, based on your own ability to encourage yourself, based on your own level of discipline because you lack that because you're seeking it out from someone else. So if someone else doesn't do you that solid and they don't do that for you, then your performance and your productivity starts to slow down slowly but surely, okay? Another consequence is just increased stress. It's stressful to constantly seek validation from other people because it's almost like you become a little bit of a puppet. You're literally performing and dancing and doing all of the shit that you need to do to get the responses and the reactions and the high fives and the likes and the comments that you're seeking. You start to carve out and intentionally perform the actions and the activity that's getting you the attention. It's literally like going back for the drug, going back for more drugs, more drugs, and more drugs, more high. Every time you do something, you're doing it so you can get that high again. So you have to be careful of that, Queens. And another consequence, and to me, this is actually one of the biggest ones, is just hesitation, indecisiveness, full of doubt, and lack of confidence. In one of the upcoming episodes, we're actually going to be talking about hesitation and doubt because hesitation, indecisiveness, and doubt all come from a lack of confidence. And if you are attention seeking, if you are validation seeking, it is because you lack confidence, or maybe your confidence has just been bruised a little bit. Maybe it's not that you don't have it or it's not there. It may just be bruised. Like a lot of times we go through things things that literally jar us. I'll get into that in an upcoming episode, but seriously, queens, when you go through something that kind of bruises your confidence, these are all of the yucky consequences that fall out of that. That's why it's so important to take care of yourself, to do self-reflection, to take care of your mental health. That's why it's so important that you love on you, that you take time out for you, because we go through so many things. I mean, life is tough. We go through a lot of shit, a lot of ups and downs, a lot of emotional highs and lows, and those things take a toll on our mental health. If we're not taking that time to work on us and we keep thinking we're super women, which we are super women, you can't think that your confidence can constantly take hit after hit after hit, and every time you get knocked down, you jump back up and just go back out to the world like nothing happened. You can't do that, because you're not going to be operating at your full and truest capacity. You're not going to be operating at your full and truest potential. You're going to be operating at like 50% or 60%. And when you operate like that, you allow people to come in and take advantage of your weaknesses. You allow yourself to start to look for other people to validate you, to make you feel good, to make you feel sexy, to make you feel worthy, to make you feel like you can be successful, to give you that permission. That's what you start looking for, okay? So we're going to make sure that all of the queens in the queendom, honey, do not have that problem, okay? So here's some tips and some suggestions to help you defeat this whole validation seeking thing and stop caring what people think, okay? So the first thing that you can do, first tip, become aware of your actions. A lot of things that we do, a lot of our actions are subconscious responses. We're not thinking about how we're reacting. We're just reacting based off of what we always do. Whatever the habit is, whatever characteristics that we've developed, we just naturally gravitate to it. We don't even think about it. So sometimes it's beneficial to just take a step back and just become aware of your reactions. Just think about what it is that you're doing so that you are aware. So become aware of your actions. Just take a step back. Here's the second one. Try to understand why you're seeking approval. Now, this is all about self-reflection. You queens knew self-reflection was going to come up. It comes up every single week. Do some self-reflection. If you don't know what self-reflection is, I talk about self-reflection so much in other episodes. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to create a self-reflection guide under the resources tab on the website. So by the time this episode airs, it'll be there. But do some self-reflection. Dig into yourself. Get to know yourself. Open up the layers of the onion and get to the root of what's going on with you. All right. Here's the third tip. Stop comparing yourself to other people. That's probably one of the most self-sabotaging actions that we can take. Do not compare yourself to other people. You are in your own lane. You are on your own journey, and everyone's is different. Everyone has a different book. Everyone's pages are different. Everyone's font is different. No two people have the same experience, so don't even compare yourself to other people. Here's the fourth tip. Rebuild your self-confidence and develop a better sense of self-worth. I talk about this every single week as well. As a matter of fact, one of the e-courses that I mentioned at the beginning of the episode is all about rebuilding self-confidence, self-worth, and self-esteem. So you can actually utilize that e-course to help you with this particular tip, okay? All right, here's another one. Accept yourself, love yourself, and trust yourself. Now, that's just straightforward. Just do it, okay? Accepting yourself means accept who you are with your flaws and all, just everything. You are perfectly fine exactly where you are. Even though every single week we talk about working through some of our flaws, we talk about evolving, we talk about dealing with some of our little insecurities, we talk about getting better. Even while you need to work on you, even while you need to get better, you're still fucking perfect right now. The flaws that you have are fine. All of the wonderful good things about you, all of your accomplishments are fucking great, okay? You're fine, queen. You are fine just the way you are. Accept yourself. If you got a little extra fat around the middle, it's fine. If your hair is a little too kinky, it's fine. If your hair is a little too fine, it's fine. If you're dark skinned, it's fine. If you're light skinned, it's fine. If you're white, it's fine. Everything about you, the way you are today, is perfectly fine. Love yourself and trust yourself. Trust yourself. You would not be where you are doing what you're doing if you weren't capable or if you weren't called, honey. You would not even be thinking about the shit that you're thinking about doing or accomplishing or achieving or the places that you're trying to go if you weren't called. You have been called, honey. It's time to step up. Trust yourself. Don't think that you can't. If you have the thought, you can. Okay? Next thing. Practice, 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 practice. Remember, this is a journey. There is no overnight changing. There is no overnight evolution. There is no microwave result here. This takes time. You practice every single day. The first thing is just becoming aware. Once you're aware, now you have the choice of doing things differently. So just practice. And if you fall off, if you find yourself going out there seeking that validation, it's okay, child. It is okay. Don't beat yourself up. Just start back over tomorrow. You can take that tip and you can apply that to every single topic we've ever talked about on the All Queens Army podcast, in the blogs, everywhere. You can just apply that to everything because it's all a journey. It all takes practice every day. And the more you try, the better you get. But you're not going to listen to one podcast episode and go from seeking validation to not giving a shit what anybody says overnight. It doesn't work that way. Be patient with yourself. Understand that this is a process and it is a journey and you just take it one day at a time. Okay, so last but not least, I'm going to give you a bonus tip. This is actually one of the things that I've started to do. And if you actually have been following All Queens Army since I started the podcast, you'll know that there have been times that I kind of disappeared on y'all asses and I went ghost, but I always came back, okay? And the reason is, and again, this is my bonus tip, take a break from social media. Every now and again, just go on a social media hiatus. Just detach from social media. Social media can really fuck up your perception of reality because you're only getting little clipped out snippets of what people choose to share and what people choose to show you. But what our brain does is we fuse all of those little clips together and we think that that represents that person's life. And it doesn't. We're getting little clips that people intentionally are sharing. They're only sharing what it is that they want you to know, what it is that they want you to see. And too much of that, especially when you're struggling with the validation stuff, too much of that is unhealthy because our brains will start to look at their lives and then look at our lives, but we're only seeing their lives in little clips. And we're comparing some shit that's like apples to oranges. So in order to kind of give yourself a break from that, in order to recharge yourself from that, in order to purge yourself from that, take a break. Take a week, take a month, take 2 months. Just take a break from social media. I've taken breaks for months at a time. It's so healthy for your mental health and for your emotional health. And for those of you who run businesses on social media, there are so many other ways that you can keep your business going while still taking a break. So with that being said, Queens, I hope that this episode was super duper helpful for you. As always, I like to try to find things that many of us women don't even know that's happening in our lives. And I like to uncover those things and give you little tips on how you can fix them, okay? So if you enjoyed this episode, please do me a favor and write me a review on whatever platform it is that you're listening to the podcast. I love to hear from the queens. I love to hear your opinions about the show. And also, if you have a question for me, need to talk to me, need to reach out to me for any reason, you can always email me at breezy@allqueensarmy.com. That is BREIZY@allqueensarmy.com. I love you so much, queens. I hope you have an amazing day. Make sure you drop in on the website on Thursday to read the blog. It's coming out. Thank you, queens, for your support. I love you so much. Have a wonderful day. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the All Queens Army podcast. If you want to connect with Breezy Time and the All Queens Army, be sure to follow them on IG and Facebook at All Queens Army. Or head over and check out the All Queens Army YouTube channel. Until next time.